Hello to all you hip skips out there.
And welcome to The Jungle. Join Disney historian David Dr. Skipper Marley and art director and crooner Trevor Kelly as these former jungle skips explore the world of Disney, pop culture, and theme parks. But hold on tight, because just like a jungle cruise, their conversations often head deep into uncharted waters. Now, grab a seat and enjoy Expedition 24, Chasing Robo Lincoln, Mushka the movie, and yo ho, it's a Mylar table for. Move it up, skips.
Hey, Trevor, how's it going?
Hello.
I don't think I've ever started the podcast before.
It's rare because I usually just hit record and go, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, that's all I had.
Okay. Well, it's been fun.
It's been fun. That was
our last episode.
It was a tight 2-minute episode.
It's a Reagan episode.
We just keep repeating the same thing over and over again. Well, mommy.
Is that what he called her?
Yeah.
Anybody that calls their significant other mommy, there's something wrong there.
I knew a guy that called his wife Person. That was his nickname for her. Hey,
really?
Person. I'm like, Person.
So how did he murder her and where was she found?
Well, here's the thing. I go, before I knew that, I'm like, this is the most boring human being I've ever even seen. This man has no personality. I found out that's his nickname. His pet name for his wife was Person. I'm like, yeah, you were born without a soul.
That's
what happens. Yeah, he was weird. So welcome everybody. Thanks for coming to the show. We're very excited you're here. Yeah. So what I wanted to talk about, I have a bunch of different things. Since this is October 1st, start of the Not Scary Farm season, like the spooky season.
That's right.
I have a fun question for you. Have you ever been to Knott's Berry Farm during Not Scary Farm, like during the day?
No, is it not Scary Farm during the day?
No.
Only at night?
It's Knott's Berry Farm where half the stuff is covered in tarps.
Do they kick you out at night?
Yes.
Oh.
They shut the park down. They spook it up, right? They do all their stuff, and then they let people back in. But I went there a couple of years ago before COVID, in the before times. We went to the park, and during Not Scary Farm, so you go like on the log ride.
Yeah.
But a lot of the guys have been changing to monsters. They just put like sheets over them. So a couple of the meetings, I swear to God, I'm like, looks like a Klan rally. And I heard the log behind us laugh. And that's all I really wanted. I just like making strangers laugh. My girls know I won't fly into a rage, but I will like lose the will to live if I'm at a grocery store and I can't make the checkout people laugh. And it can't be a dad joke.
Okay.
It has to be like an improvised.
Oh, wow.
It has to be something brand new for them. And if I can't get them to break up, I will just, my girls know that all the way to the car. I'm like, I've lost it. I've lost my
That's
magic.
it. It has to be that person and nothing else.
It has to be. And like living in Washington, D.C. was awful because they wouldn't talk to you.
Oh.
Like they had the little screen with the price on it. They would just like flick it at you and look away. But so I do that every waiter, every waitress, every like service person. I have to say something to make them laugh. And if I can't, it just aggravates the hell out of me.
You're like, you're 2 bad moves away from your villain origin story.
Nobody laughed. I'm just on the roof with guns.
The Joker started.
Oh, right. So, yeah. It's usually I can get them somehow, and I literally resort to physical comedy. Like I pretend to fall down once just to get a guy to laugh because he wouldn't laugh at anything. So I just like ran into a counter, like, oh my God, and he laughed, and I'm like, yep, there you go. And I just turned and walked away. And my oldest daughter goes, "You totally just did that for his benefit." I'm like, yes. I can't not have people laugh.
There's a lot to unpack there.
There is. That's literally why I'm in therapy. There you go. That's why I have a therapist.
There we go.
Emma helps keep me off the roof. That's what I'm saying. The 2 best things I've done in the past couple of years is I swim 3 times a week. So I exercise and I go to therapy. Those are the 2 things that keep me going.
I was at
that and black tar heroin. So 3 things.
That feeds the other 2.
Exactly. I used to do a little, but a little wouldn't do it. So a little got more and more. Just like Guns N' Roses said.
Is that a song? I was going to say
from
that
Guns N' Roses.
What is that? What
Mr.
song
Brownstone.
Mr. Brownstone.
Which I didn't know. Mr. Brownstone is like a cool kid term for heroin.
Is it?
I had no idea.
Oh.
I'm not hip with the kids and the drugs.
It sounds like a boring school professor.
I literally just, you have Mr. Brownstone this semester? Oh man, he's going to leave needle marks in your arm. You're going to look like Keith Richards after 6 months.
I'll tell you what, we'll hop into some other stuff soon, I'm sure.
Yes.
I I didn't realize this until I saw the meme. Mick Jagger, 80 years old. Mitch McConnell, 81.
81, yeah.
There is something to be said for this this lifestyle.
Well, Mick's also running around moving more. Mitch
This is
McConnell
true.
rarely moves.
I don't know. Have you ever seen Mitch McConnell and his Rolling Stones cover band? It's pretty impressive.
Kentucky Kickers is what they're called.
Start me up. Start me up.
That's a really good Mitch McConnell.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The trick is to inflate your air sac.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Who knew? Who knew? So did we finish that talk? Like going to Knott's Berry Farm during...
Is that when we started?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to see. Have you ever
back
been
to
there
it.
then?
No. We should just go. No.
No? Okay. That settles that.
That's it.
I just spent a whole day there and every ride was just awkward because everything was covered in sheets and my girls were little. Well, what is that? I'm like, well, it's a monster thing. There's monsters under there. I'm like, it's okay.
Here's my problem with knots.
Yeah.
I love knots.
Yes.
I love's a strong word. I enjoy knots.
Yeah.
We went because of Jess's show. By the way, the art show's still going. The Gentleman Who Turns the Crank, fantastic. Jess Tasmic art, along with another. She showed me some of the artists in this show and what they've done. They have a little thread. Mm-hmm. Incredible stuff. Swing by it. It's by the bumper cars in the 50s area.
Okay. This might be my favorite piece of work she's done.
It's incredible.
It might be my favorite.
I actually started hating it. When she first started it, I hated it.
Uh-huh.
She showed me it and I'm like, And I don't like to disparage anything while it's in part of the process. So I was
Yeah.
trying to be like, it's not my cup of tea, but you have a vision and go for it, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And then she finally told me to cut the crap. And I said, I don't like this. And so we worked together. I gave her a couple of like, oh, maybe this and that. And then she just went off to the races because she's a super talented artist.
Yeah.
That is, it's getting to the point where I think she might be murdering other artists and stealing their essence through some sort of nefarious means.
Okay.
She's gotten too good too fast.
Like a Death Eater from Harry Potter.
Something like
Something
that.
like that. Yeah. Yeah. No, but that's probably my favorite piece of hers. I think it's fantastic.
But knots, I tend to not go on any rides because it's no different to me. I like the booze there. I like the food.
Yeah.
Food's phenomenal.
Yeah.
The funnel cakes.
Yep.
Aces. But most of the rides outside of the roller coasters, which I don't go on because I don't like brain hemorrhages. Fun fact.
Fun fact.
The ghost town ones are no different than if somebody pushed me in a grocery store cart past some mannequins.
The Ghost Town what?
Like the mine train and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's just lightly moving mannequins.
I love the mine train ride. You know why?
Why?
Because that's what Pirates of the Caribbean was going to be.
The mine train ride?
Yep. It was going to look, when they built Pirates of the Caribbean, it was going to be a walk-through attraction with like just static mannequin figures.
Really?
With sound effects. So I was kind of, normally when they update a ride, I'm very, that's cool. I'm not thrilled that they updated the mine train ride with better animatronics because
Yeah.
I would tell people, if you want to see what Pirates was going to be, go on the mine train ride and get ready for disappointment, where there's just static miners with axes in their hands and you hear the sounds. That's what it was going to be.
Pirates came after the World's Fair in Lincoln, right?
Yep.
Did they just not have the money to pull off all those audio animatronics?
They were doing Mansion, they were doing Pirates, and they stopped all of those so they could spend money on the World's Fair. It was money, but also all the Imagineers were working on the World's Fair.
Yeah.
And Walt knew they were making breakthroughs on animatronics, and let's use these companies' money to make it. And once we figure out, and that's when they came back and said, all right, Haunted Mansion's going to be different. Pirates has to be bigger, has to be a boat ride.
Is that why Mansion took a lot longer
Yep.
and everybody goes like, oh, it's going to kill people and blah, blah, blah.
Yep. Because it stopped because he wanted to make sure it was awesome, which I love that about Walt Disney. And
That's where you don't get that nowadays with the company is let's throw as much money as humanly possible at this to make it as incredible as possible.
Now they just go, let's just keep promising stuff at Avengers Campus. It's never happening.
That's right.
Meanwhile, here's some guy from Wakanda.
They figured it out. Drawing stuff that looks really cool is much cheaper than building it.
Significantly cheaper. Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah. No.
I've always found it fascinating, all of the rumors and urban legends that surrounded the Haunted Mansion before it opened.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware of some of them, right?
Some of them.
The one I always heard was that, and I don't know if you've heard this, is that instead of the elevator room, the floor was just going to drop out and shoot you down into the attraction. Hand to God, that's what circulated around.
That.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
So
I think that's a myth.
Obviously wouldn't have worked out very well for everybody that went down that chute first.
Unless you were nimble.
That's right. Move fast.
Yeah, move fast. Here comes Grandma. Somebody catch her.
Oh my gosh.
Here comes her wheelchair.
The worst would be the ECVs.
Yes.
That would not end well.
Yeah. God. Did you go to the park in an ECV when your knee was busted? Or no? Did you go out? Did you stay away from the park?
I'm trying to think. I did go to the park when I busted my ankle many years ago prior. I'll tell the abridged version. So in between jobs, go into this interview, nail this interview, just absolutely crush it. I have a really nice suit on. And as you know, when you have a suit on, if you're a guy of a certain age, you feel like James Bond.
You do.
So
I killed a man when I was in a tux once just because I felt like I could.
And it was a rental too.
Turns out it's not a 007 thing. You have to have a license.
You have to.
I did hard time.
You strangled that poor clerk at the Men's Warehouse the second you put it on. I remember this.
But he didn't laugh at my jokes, so I had to.
That's right. No witnesses.
None.
So go out to where I think the parking lot is, but I take a wrong turn and I find myself on maybe a 7-foot wall overlooking the parking lot. And I have two choices now. Well, the only real choice is go back, circle around, and go to your car like a normal human being.
Yeah.
I'm feeling on top of the world.
No.
I'm in a suit.
No.
I think, what would James Bond do? No. He'd jump off this thing, tuck and roll, make his way to the car. I jump, and then my brain does nothing else. I just stiff leg land on the ground and immediately wreck my ankle.
Oh, no.
You ever hurt yourself so bad that your body releases all the sweat in it at once?
Yes, I am.
That's what happened. And so I just hobble to the car. And since I have no insurance, all I can do is go back home to Jess and say, I wrecked my foot. Give me some Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
And I just slept and got a brace.
Oh,
but when I had the brace and the crutches, we went to Disneyland and I got a wheelchair because it was cheaper than an ECV. And I realized what a nightmare going into Disneyland in a wheelchair and getting pushed around is, because all you are is ass level the whole day and no one pays attention to you. It's a nightmare.
It's great if you're into asses, though.
It is. If it's a particular kink, pro tip. No kink shaming here.
I know somebody that would go to Disneyland. They would rent a wheelchair. He could walk.
Okay.
And he would have his wife push him around all day. And then they would wait for like the fireworks, or they would go to like America Sings. And at like a dramatic moment, he would like shakily stand up and like salute, and like the crowd would go nuts.
No.
And he did it deliberately just for that moment.
What
sociopath
needs this kind of recognition?
He was giving people a miracle.
Where they're faking a miracle.
Yeah, they're faking a miracle. Because he would like, his hands would shake as he stood up, and just like, and then like his wife would like cry like, oh my God, he's standing. Oh yeah.
What?
It was a whole routine. Yeah.
Oh my God.
My hand to God.
What a nightmare.
That's why I don't believe anything I see. Because, I may have mentioned this before. We had a friend, Kaz, she would have another friend go propose to her at the park.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
He would like get down and he had a little box, and she's like, she is a great actress. She can cry instantly. She would just look at him and burst into tears. I told you to stop asking me. And she'd storm away. And the guy would just sit there heartbroken, and people came up and like would give him a hug.
Oh my God. What a fun, and maybe this is a new TikTok challenge, is just what's the worst thing you could simulate at the park for attention?
Zombies.
That's right.
That's my go-to answer for anything.
It'd be funny if that guy just went into Lincoln every couple of days and did that, and all the cast members were like, this fucking guy. But everybody's
come out like wiping their tears away.
The second Lincoln stands up, he shakes and gets up. Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Yes. And he has to salute. What are the odds one of us does it next time we're at the park?
That's right. Now I need to go in a park in a wheelchair and do this.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Manipulating people for fun and not even for profit, just for fun.
Just for fun.
Yeah. Right? What fun pranks we have? He had a question for everybody. Listen, you can send us 2 things. In the future, I forget which episode we said, but we're going to do another listener questions.
That's right.
So if you're listening, come up with some good questions and send them to either Trevor or I on Instagram. And right?
the.trevor.kelly.
Or at Dr. Skipper Marley. And so send us some questions and we will go through and read them and answer them to the best of our ability online.
They can be about anything.
Anything.
Disney focused, jungle focused, personal problems.
Yep.
We can solve them.
Oh my God, we could be like self-help people.
We can.
I could be like Dr. Phil.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just mean, grow a mustache.
Yeah. This is another one for everybody. In our Patreon in the future, we're going to be doing some like live streams, but also some special episodes. We want to go to like tiki bars and places like that. So if you have like suggestions of where you'd like to hear us record from.
It's a great idea.
I was thinking we could record live during a high-speed chase that we're in with the cops. What do you think?
I'm all for this.
Okay.
That'll be our last episode.
Last episode.
That's the last episode as we Thelma and Louise this.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know when I signed the contract. I had no idea.
But it's going to be we drive off a cliff into a factory of pillows.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So we got to find that first.
Surprise ending. We got to make sure that's there.
It has to be there. That's key.
Problem is, you're going to talk me into it because you tried for years to get me to do it to this podcast, and you finally broke me. And then I was dead set against doing the Hot Ones challenge. You broke me.
I'm assuming we made the Patreon challenge.
I'm assuming I'm very unhappy right now.
In mid-October, hunker down. It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be fun.
Speaking of good times and promoting stuff in October, if I may do a little quick Billy Mays here.
Go for it.
October 13th, Friday, October 13th, AnaheimFallFestival.org. Please tune in. And if you want to participate, you can. If you have a musical act, comedy, magic, anything, literally anything your little baboon heart desires, submit a up to 5-minute video, AnaheimFallFestival.org, and we'll be picking the top ones to be part of the Anaheim Fall Festival online variety show. It's a blast. So
that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I'll be hosting it. And,
I enjoy that. It's actually a lot of fun.
It's going to be a good time. And we're going to see a sneak peek at some of the new floats that all the parade volunteers and Kevin and Jody designed and worked on this year that all have some very interesting Anaheim historical significance.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. Oh, by the way, real quick, don't want to get too political, but paying people a livable wage is not political, in my opinion. Vote yes on A. If you are in the Anaheim area, these people deserve a living wage if they're making magic for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Simple.
Remember,
and easy.
that was the question. What would I do if I was in charge of Disneyland for the day?
That's right. You'd pay them a proper wage.
I would make sure, because the average Disneyland cast member in the late 70s was making the modern equivalent of $26 an hour. Like if you adjusted it for inflation, that's how much they were making. Like Disney could easily, and Disney is in much better shape now than it used to be.
Yeah.
But
they're doing all right.
They're doing okay. They've got some cash. But they were making $26 an hour, the average cast member.
Oh, my God.
And that's why it was hard to get a job at Disney in the 50s, up through the 80s. You had to really fight to get a job there. It was coveted because it paid so well.
Yeah.
And it was like exclusive. And now I could get rehired. They'll let anybody in that door now.
I'm actually doing a double after
You're right
this.
now?
Yeah.
You're doing a double shift? All right,
Yeah.
good. Back to back. All right. That's always open and close, or close and open. Those are always the fun.
Closed and open. Oh, God, no.
Where you would close the park. You would close.
Yeah.
I did that where I closed down Jungle. I like wrapped up the boat. And then I was there at like 7 a.m. untying the same boat that I had tied up the night before. I'm like, who tied this boat up? Oh, crap. I did.
Me.
I did.
The worst part about opening is you have to find and wrestle back into its attraction, the Lincoln animatronic. Every night he escapes.
Yeah, well, that's why they gave Jungle Cruise guns. Fun fact. So that we could hunt for the president.
Lincoln's greatest weakness.
Yeah, his guns. Guns in theaters.
That's right.
So they would send out skippers in a hunt. Find old Honest Abe.
There's the Jungle Cruise movie. That's what it should have been, is
Right?
the hunt for Lincoln.
We figured out pretty quick. What you got to do is you get one of our female skippers, dress her up like Mary Todd.
Oh, yeah.
Have her sashay down Main Street. Abe was on it.
That's right.
Abe was on it. I filmed a pilot for this show, which really should have happened. I don't know why this show didn't get picked up. Probably because I was the host of it. That was the
What was
tragic
it?
flaw. It's called History, It's Food.
Ooh,
And it was about like famous people and what they ate. Remember, I had you and Joey help me work on an episode on Lincoln?
Yeah.
But we filmed the pilot episode about Napoleon, and I had to do this scene where I'm walking through this park in Florida, and I'm explaining stuff, and I said, how about different people and food, and how Abe Lincoln, his wife, got to feed him oysters because they thought it was an aphrodisiac.
Oh.
And so she fed him oysters, and they still only had like 4 kids. And the guy that wrote it, I don't get it. I'm like, 4 kids isn't a lot. If you're feeding somebody oysters to make them horny, you're going to have like 15 kids. He's like, I think 4 is a lot. I'm like, well, how many kids do you have? 1. See, that's why more than 4. That's why it's funny. It's always good explaining comedy to the person that wrote the joke.
Always great.
Why you added onto it. And the producer's like, that's funny. It's staying in. And I'm like, good. Okay.
Yeah.
This is about, I have one about Disney animation for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Who is your favorite Disney side character, minor or comedy relief character in a movie?
If I'm just doing this first thing that pops into my head, Kronk.
That's the right answer. Kronk. That's an excellent answer.
Yeah, I would say he's aces. Patrick Warburton voicing anything, really.
Yeah.
Up there in my book.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an excellent answer.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed with that. All right. Mine is from everybody who likes this movie really likes this movie. Most people haven't. I'll be stunned if you've seen it. Treasure Planet.
Never seen it? No.
Oh my God, so good. So
Never seen it. Don't know much about it.
It's Treasure Island in space.
Okay.
And in the real Treasure Island, they go to the Island of Treasure, hence the name. And there's a guy named Ben Gum that lives there.
Okay.
And he was abandoned by his pirate crew, so he was left alone to die. But he didn't die, but he went crazy.
Okay.
So he's not a lot of help to either side because he's just this crazy rambling caveman guy.
Mm-hmm.
Treasure Planet, it's a robot called Ben. And it stands for Bioelectric Engineering Navigator or something. And the voice of it is Martin Short. And it makes the movie.
Oh my gosh.
Hysterical.
I'll watch it just for that.
Because in the movie, he's like the navigator, but in order to keep the location of Treasure Planet secret, they pull out his memory. So he's a robot whose long-term memory is gone. And so it's not like Dory from Finding Whatever Nemo, but he's hysterically funny.
I got to watch that now.
Yes.
Anything with Martin Short, Only Murders in the Building, one of our favorite shows at the moment.
There was an article in Slate.
I saw that.
Did you read that magazine article?
I lightly started to read it and I went, I don't know what this guy's problem is.
Right. There was an article that came out in Slate magazine. Somebody who, I'm not going to say he deserves a beat down, but he deserves a stern talking to.
Yeah.
Wrote an article about why do people like Martin Short? He's not funny. He's an overactor and he ruins everything he's in. And he just is loud. And people got enraged at that because my favorite audiobook of all time is his book called Fame Becomes Me. It's his autobiography where he reads it. And when he does one of his characters, he just moves into the voice of the character.
Oh, cool.
It is hysterical. And, here's the funny thing about Murders in the Building. Watching that with my daughter, Olivia, my oldest daughter, Olivia goes, oh, that's going to be you and Trevor when you're old men. And so I'm watching the scene with Martin Short and Steve Martin, and I'm like, well, which one am I? And then Martin Short walks in, he throws his arms there, hello! And she goes, do I have to tell you? I'm like, yeah, okay.
I think it's going to be worse because I think it's going to be 2 Martin Shorts when we're old. I don't know that one of us is going to be a Steve Martin.
You don't want to be that grumpy.
No.
I don't see you getting that grumpy.
No, I'm only going to get more flamboyant and
because why get
insufferable?
The world's got enough angry old men.
That's true.
It needs more flamboyant, fun men.
That's true.
That's what we need. That's my goal. So, she says that's going to be us when we're older. But yeah, Ben, they don't call him Ben Gum. He's just called Ben. He is hysterical.
That's your favorite side character.
Yes, I wanted to make him into like a Disney tiki. I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But he's like, they had a character dressed up as Ben at the park.
Really?
Which was fun. Not for a long time, but they made a suit. But yeah, Ben is hysterical.
The main pirate character in that, am I wrong in that it's that legendary Disney animator, Andres Deja animated that one? Or is that the other one, the Goldberg, what's his name?
Eric Goldberg. I don't know.
I'm going to look it up right now.
Okay, look it up right now. Okay. And then I can tell you my Andre Deja story. I can name drop. Oh, perfect. Paul McCartney once told me he hates people that name drop in stories.
So looked it up because I'm not even going to pretend I'm smart.
Okay.
Animated by Glenn Keane.
Oh, wow.
Was John Silver and John Ripa was Jim Hawkins.
Wow.
I would have assumed it was Goldberg or Deja.
Keane. Wow.
How do you say the last name?
I think it's Andre Deja.
Deja. I'm sure you have a much better story, but because I only just quickly ran into him at the one time I was at that HHA meeting with you.
Yeah. The first one I ever went to, it was this meeting of Disney historians and like legends and Imagineer, all these cool people. And I was trying really hard not to geek out.
Dave was very kind in smuggling me into one of them, and I never went back.
Which is probably the wise choice, because it quickly became a nerd convention of high school kids to see who was the coolest. And we were at Walt Disney's old house on Working Way, like where he had the Snow White cottage was still there.
Oh, wow.
And it was like they kept it decorated the way it was when Walt lived there. It was this cool moment. And it was like a cocktail reception, so I felt very cool. And it was sunset, so I'm out there looking at the sun go down over LA. And I see Andres Deja out there, and I'm like, you don't have a reason to talk to him, so don't talk to him. Don't be that guy, right? Because as Californians, we're trained, you ignore celebrities.
Yeah.
Like, you don't talk to them, you don't freak out. I've only freaked out at one person one time, and I literally just lost my mind to the point the guy laughed hysterically. I can tell you that story. John Lewis, the congressman and civil rights hero, friend of Martin Luther King. He opened the door for me, and I was 6 inches away, and I went, "Oh my God, you're John Lewis!" And I put my hands in front of my face, this giant white man, to this short, elderly African-American guy. And he laughed all the way across the street to the Capitol building. I watched him like wipe the tears out of his eyes, laughing so hard because I lost my mind. It was very un-Californian of me, but the man's a legit American hero.
He is.
Anyway, so I'm on the lawn drinking a little cocktail. I see Andre Deja come out, and at the time I was teaching a class at a university on the history of Disneyland. And I see him look at me, and he comes over to me. I'm standing all by myself. He comes over. He's like, "Hi, I'm Andre. Are you the guy that teaches the history of Disneyland class?"
Oh, no.
I almost peed my pants. I'm like, yes. And so we sat and talked for like 15 minutes. He told me about this animated thing he's working on, like on his own.
Oh, wow.
Like this old Russian story about a girl and a tiger. And it was the coolest thing ever. And that was like my bizarre Andres Deja moment. And I saw Eric Goldberg at the Disney studio once. Our buddy Mike, I took my daughters there when they were really little. They got dressed up in their fancy dresses to go have lunch at the studio. It was very cute. So we're at the cafeteria, and there's Eric Goldberg with his little tray. And he kind of stopped by, and I said, I brought the girls over. I said, "Hey, this is, the animator." And he turns and goes, "Hi, girls. Hey, I'm friends with Louie from Princess the Frog. You know him? I'm a good friend of his. And I'm good friends with the genie." He started listing all the things he'd drawn.
Oh, wow.
But he's like, he would only say, "Oh, they're my friends. Oh, we used to hang out all the time." And my girls were just like, he knows them, Dad. I'm like, yes, he does know Louie and the genie.
He does.
And then years later, they're like, we were watching a documentary, and they're like, "That's the guy we met." And I'm like, yeah,
that's so wild.
He's a hugely famous animator, and he literally, again, could not have been any nicer.
Like we both always say, when you're really, really good at what you do, at the top of your game, you're usually not a jerk.
Yeah. It's the people that used to be famous and aren't anymore.
Yeah.
Or the people that think they should be more famous than they are.
Yes.
Me is what I'm trying to say. Don't you know who I am?
You're going to punch your way to the top, see?
Okay.
So I looked this up just real quick.
Yes.
The movie you just mentioned.
Yes.
There's a website now, Mushka the Movie. Tells the story of a Ukrainian girl who raises a Siberian tiger in the 70s. It's an original story. Oh, it's done. He did it. Hand-drawn animated film was in production for about 10 years.
Yeah.
Richard Sherman wrote the musical theme as well as the song for the film.
Wow.
Mushka's running time is 28 minutes.
Where can we watch this? Is it on the interwebs?
It won an award.
Wow. Yeah, he told me he was working on it at his house, and like his little studio at his house, and just working on it in his free time while he was still at Disney.
It's
after he retired.
It's just by arranging screenings right now.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, we got to get the word out on this.
Did it just come out?
2023.
Wow. I talked to him 2012.
Wow.
Right? 2013. Maybe
So that about lines up. It says about 10 years it took.
It couldn't have been any later than 2013. It had to be at least 2013.
So go to mushkathemovie.com, Mushka, the movie, and it has a trailer and all this fun stuff.
He's going to make a Canadian sequel called Mushka.
That's Disney's cash grab sequel.
That is.
To Mushka the movie.
And then Mouska. And then, it's just kind of.
How wild that you talked to him about that like a decade ago.
Yeah.
And now it's finished.
It's finally out.
Wow.
Yeah. He must have had a crew obviously helping him, but He said he was hand drawing it in it when he retired. That was his new project.
That's insane.
Yeah, and he wanted it all hand drawn. But the Long John Silver character from Treasure Planet was, I guess, one of the first characters at Disney that was half hand drawn, half CGI.
Oh, okay.
Because he's a cyborg.
Yeah.
So his robot parts are CGI.
All the sexy robot parts.
That's right. And so the rest of him is hand drawn. So it's got a fun. They were mixing with it in Treasure Planet. So certain parts are CGI, certain parts are hand drawn. I think it's beautiful.
Because the real treasure in Treasure Planet is in his pants.
That's right. I was going to say in his heart.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Also in his pants. Here's the only, it's not a downside about Treasure Planet, but the only odd thing about Treasure Planet, you know how like in Tarzan they had Phil Collins do it? Mm-hmm. Which I'm like, whatever, Phil Collins. Not my vibe.
Phil Collins, like him or not, went way harder than he needed to for the Tarzan music.
They got their money's worth out of Phil Collins.
Sure did.
I will give him that. He didn't hack that out. No. It's like none of this Lion King nonsense. He wrote real songs. I told one of my classes I hate the Lion King, and I got booed. Booed by a class. My response is, that's a brave response from people that haven't taken an exam yet. And then they all laughed and then got nervous.
Aww.
That's the sweet spot. Where was I going? They were a hot band when this came out. But now you're like, really? All of their music is done by the Goo Goo Dolls.
Really?
Like a couple of the songs are Goo Goo Doll songs. And you're like, huh.
That's
And it sounds exactly how you think.
It's an odd choice. Just want to take a quick moment to give a shout out to our Patreon supporters.
Yep.
Well, thank you for supporting us and making the podcast go a little bit more smoothly.
Right. You help us go to the fun places to make even better episodes.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to be giving shout outs to our hip skips. That's our $5 level. They'll be getting 4 extra episodes a year. The first one just dropped recently.
Yep.
And
that was fun.
Stellar episode.
Yeah.
Our hip skips, Carolyn Price, Darren Zakich, Dominic Cardoza, Joshua Bell, Nicole Clow, and Team Palmer. Thank you for supporting us at the $5 a month level.
I'd like to give a shout out to our $15 a month Patreon subscribers. They get a Shriner pin. They get the 4 special episodes. Plus, they get 2 live streams every year, which are going to be awesome. We're very excited about planning those. Let me give a shout out to these fantastic people. And thank you for your support to Ashley Gallus, to Geo Trash Girl, Jim Chamberlain, Jonathan 30 Acre, Kristen Moore, Lapu Lisa, and Meko Grogzilla. Tropical Imports Limited. Thank you for the wonderful candles, by the way. To Matt Hubert, Paula Malcolm Elhart, thank you, Go Raiders. Rick Martin, Sarah Malik, Sent from Disneyland, Terry Walker, and there we are. Thank you all for your support. We really, really appreciate it. Okay, all right. I got a fun topic of discussion for you.
Okay, we got time for one more topic this show.
All right, this one will be worth it. In your opinion, what do you think is the worst Disney update of any ride? Like there's a ride, they put an update in it, and it just destroyed it.
There's many famous examples. The first one that pops to mind that I never saw was Tiki Room update, where they put Zazu and
in Florida. Yeah.
Under new management.
Yeah.
That's like the famous example of how to not take a hot dump on a classic attraction.
Yeah. I interviewed a skipper that we both knew, Tiffany, who still works for the company. She got to run the Tiki Room there for 2 days.
Oh, wow.
And I go, what did you think of it? She's like, it was interesting.
Because I've seen clips of it. It's just the new birds hating on how stupid they think the old birds are.
Yeah.
Is what I gathered.
Yeah.
Tiki Room, Enchanted Tiki Room in Japan, though, phenomenal.
With Stitch.
Yeah.
Oh, if you haven't watched that video, I think you told me to watch it.
Yeah.
It's all in Japanese, but I like hearing Stitch's voice in Japanese. That cracks me up, but it is so good.
Yeah.
Why is Tokyo Disneyland? They crush everything.
I think because Japan, and I've said this many a time on many different episodes, I think every time I visited, in my personal experience of observing them, they pick something like Americana.
Yeah.
And they are able to analyze it and understand it better than we do at this point.
Yeah.
And they just nail it when they want to really just recreate something or get a vibe on something.
Yes.
That's just my take on it.
Yeah. My dad was in love with Japan. He figured out he spent 4 years of his life there, adding all his trips together because he worked for Baskin Robbins. So he was constantly there, and that was kind of his thing. Is like Japan thinks in the long term, and so they're not. That's why that Disney park is not afraid to invest a lot of money, knowing it's going to pay off for decades. Where Disney's like, we'll spend some money, better pay off in the next quarter.
Right.
Yeah. Matter of fact, my dad taught me some Japanese phrases for the Jungle Cruise.
Really?
Yeah. All I remember is skoshi, which means a little. But he taught me like elephant and gorilla, and I would say like look out and danger. So he wrote these phrases down for me, right, with English letters, so I could practice saying them correctly. And so I had Japanese guests, and I busted out some Japanese things, and the giant it was a hit because suddenly the giant white man is yelling Japanese things.
Oh, I'll bet.
And I wish I could remember any of the things he had taught me, because they would always ask, "Oh, you speak Japanese?" And I would just say skoshi. And after a while, it just became skoshi is all I know. That's all I had. But it was fun. They would just get so excited when you knew.
Oh, yeah.
So that's your worst update.
No, that's not my worst. That's
Okay.
the one I've this famously the example. I guess one that I've personally been on.
Yes.
That, and I have a feeling we might align on this.
I'm terrified you're going to have my answer.
Is it Star Tours?
No.
Oh, mine's Star Tours.
Okay.
Mine is Star Tours. They really, as somebody that grew up loving C-3PO.
Yes.
As a kid, I used to call Disneyland and ask to speak to C-3PO.
Oh.
And they were nice enough to put me on hold and come back and say, C-3PO doesn't want to talk to you right now. No, they would say he couldn't come to the phone.
Oh.
That was very nice of them. C-3PO hates you personally. He said, stop calling
Is
him.
this Trevor Kelly from San Diego? Yes. He doesn't like you. He says you know what you did.
That's right. He said, you can piss off. Go suck on some poodoo.
They changed it where you're changing time too.
Yeah, it's all over the place now.
Yeah.
That's just the least of its problems. I was going to say, as a kid that loved C-3PO, having C-3PO pilot it is a special thrill. That's fantastic. But everything else, the original ride had such a nice pacing and well thought out like flow.
Yeah.
And what happens now is that when you jump around each thing, it's all cranked up to 10.
Yeah.
Everything insane has to happen.
Yes.
And they try to build in some of that pacing with like, oh, there's Rebel Spy and here's Yoda or Princess Leia or whatever. It doesn't work as well, I think, as the old one did.
Someone said, this is boring. We got to spice it up a bit.
It's crazy.
And they ruined it.
It all can't be insane.
Yeah. You got to have levels.
There should have been planets that aren't just as intense as the other ones. Like the midsection, the second planet's always like, it's not as crazy or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't go on that ride anymore.
And neither do I.
And I loved it. I'll tell you what though, pro tip.
Yeah.
Get a little toasted, have an edible, put on that Quest VR headset, and YouTube has some stellar prints of the original ride film, like transfer.
Uh-huh.
And you can watch those in the VR headset, and it's just like being on Star Tours if you're drunk enough.
That's cool. And or high enough.
Yeah, if you just shake the bed a little bit.
All right.
You have your spouse shake the chair that you're in. That's great.
All right. All right. That's awesome. My thing is soaring over California. When they changed it to soaring over the world,
Oh, yeah.
I will never go on that again.
Yeah.
Ever. When they bring back soaring over California, I go on it. Soaring over around the world, it's all CGI.
Yeah.
All of it. And they added Disney characters, but the old one was filmed on actual film. And they like have helicopters soaring over things. The new one is mostly CGI, and it's clear it's not well done.
No.
And especially when it's on a huge screen in front of you, it's obvious that it's fake.
Yeah, it takes some of the magic out of it.
Yes.
Actually, all the magic.
It's like you fly into a cloud and suddenly you're somewhere else around the world. I remember my whole family, we were just angry when we got off. We're like, what is this garbage?
Well, you watch the old one, you watch the old Soaring Over California, and some of these shots, you're like, what madman tried to attempt these shots?
Yeah, yeah.
You have like the gauchos running on the horse, and then it pans up and the jets are flying by. Like no person in their right mind would try to like figure that out.
Right. Or like where it dives down in Palm Springs over the golf course and everyone's golfing and it takes off. So well done.
Hits all those old people.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, they had it coming. They've lived their lives.
They're fine.
They're fine.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, most of the updates are fine.
Yeah.
They're either needed because we've advanced as a society.
Yep.
Or maybe the ride needs a little bit of TLC.
Yep.
And you can do something better.
Yep.
I will say, out of all the things they could have changed in Pirates, couldn't we have done something better than bath sheets and a light on it for the fire? I think we've progressed in technology.
Mylar.
That's Mylar?
Yeah.
Really?
It's plastic Mylar. You know the story of the Mylar table, right?
I don't.
You don't know the story of the Mylar table? This is going to the podcast, I can guarantee you. So it's basically sheets of like Mylar plastic that you hang up and it wiggles, and that's where the flame, that's why it looks like flames, kind of. So it's not a bed sheet, it's plastic. But it breaks and whatnot. So they have a giant table where they pulled out sheets of Mylar and cut it to reinstall it at night. Mm-hmm. Evidently, I have been told by several people, that is the table where everybody who works at Pirates of the Caribbean has sex on that table. That is like the sex table. Ask people who work at Pirates, you ever go to the Mylar table? So we have a friend who evidently gave Johnny Depp a tour of Pirates before the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, where they're showing him all the stuff behind the scenes. This is the Mylar table where all the cast members have sex. They just kind of set it. And he was just kind of like, huh, and just kind of like, okay. And I think the Plaids were probably not excited.
Probably
that
not.
The cast members, there's you don't want to know why this table feels kind of sticky. Or
Ye be seeking adventure on that Mylar table.
and the Mylar table, we find the redhead on the table.
Show me your larboard side.
Now for the most dangerous part of our show, the return to civilization. If you've enjoyed the show and want to show some support while also getting some adventurously good extras, visit patreon.com/The Jungle Podcast. Also, if you could be so kind as to follow the lads on Instagram, I know they'd be thrilled. At Dr. Skipper Marley and at the.Trevor.Kelly. See you hip skips next time in The Jungle.